Between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Barker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, we now move on to another side of the world virtually as we move from one Grand Prix venue to another, and this time we've headed to South America and to Brazil, to essentially their most infamous circuit that you'll ever find in the country. It is the Interlagos circuit, which is located in Sao Paulo, and it's the venue for round 6 of VRRC's World Touring Car Championship for 2025. So, Scott Woodwiss here, back in the commentary box. Glad to be here once again, and as always, joined by on co-coms once again, Becky Aparicio as well. Becky, we've had a week off because we have to give an apology that we had some broadcast technicalities which we weren't able to resolve, let's say, for our last round at Spa. So apologies for not bringing you a stream for that, but we're all sorted for the rest of the season. And after what looked like, on the stats at least, quite interesting round with more points developments, now we come to the second half of the season, at least the second part of this second half of the season. Another circuit which is known to many by Grand Prix venues, and it should be interesting to see how the touring cars tackle this circuit, where it's long, it's fast, it's flowing, a little bit of technical section in the middle. This should be quite a tale of two sides, possibly, for both the Audi and the BMW that are racing here tonight.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, unfortunately missed last week, and it did look like it was some good racing, a few new names popping up. Hopefully we can replicate some of that this evening and have a few new faces maybe to speak to at the end of both races.
Well, we fingers crossed. We'll see if anyone can come out on top and take a victory, or someone new takes the winner's circle. Here's a reminder of how the championship has been so far. We're at round 6, but of course already we've been to Brands Hatch in the UK, to Monza in Italy, to Long Beach in the USA, and Portimao in Portugal, which was our last broadcast. And last time they raced last week at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Still 2 more rounds to go, two more legendary circuits in the world, the Nürburgring in Germany and Suzuka in Japan, which will round things off in just a couple of weeks' time. And by then, if it hasn't been crowned already, we will find our VRRC World Touring Car Champion as well. And of course, the 2 cars which go head-to-head in this championship, the rear-wheel drive NGTC spec BMW and the TCR spec Audi RS3 LMS TCR, both as balanced as possible in the sim to make them as even as you can. Means it's down to the driver and their preference of front or rear-wheel drive to make it work. So moving on to how last week's events shaped the championship, we can see here it's now an 8-point advantage that Jack Smith has over Scott Bugner. So still BMW versus Audi at the top of the points, with Oliver Gibson in 3rd place, a further 9 points back. So there is around about a 17-point spread between the top 3 at this point in time. Jay Warren is the last driver on 3 digits with 109 points. Then it's Andy Carroll on 95, Chris Blakey on 90, Thomas Potter, who had another mixed weekend last time at Spa, Lee Piercy, who's not present tonight, and then Kenny Press and Jamie Page round out the top 10. So it appears as though, Becky, given that Jack is still running the maximum BOP plus not too much penalty points, it looks as though it's going to be quite intriguing. Rich Hayden, in fact, did actually take some points as well, decent points as well, to get 11th with Jack Dickinson, Walton, Jones, Potter, Walker, Wilkie and Smith. But still quite tight at the top of the championship. 8 points separates the top 2. This could mean that Interlagos could be another event where these standings could change very dramatically if results go either way, one of those 2 drivers, and if the circuit either favours the BMW or the Audi this evening.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting for the championship results. See who ends up on top at the end of this round. It didn't seem quite so straightforward for Jack last week, so we'll see what happens this week for the championship leader at the moment.
The championship leader was also the driver who picked up the round win, shall we say, at round 5 last time at Spa-Francorchamps, and he got the most amount of points. Jay Warren was second, and it was 2 Laser Tools livery BMWs that were up there in third, with Jamie Page in third place in terms of scoring. And the driver of the round was Kenny Press, so he put in some impressive performances to be crowned driver of the meeting. He'll be looking to try and replicate that if he can. Now moving forwards as we get closer to qualifying, bit of a promo of course as well for an upcoming series that we have after this, and we're going back to GTs, and the GT World Sprint League is coming on once again with live streaming and another excellent mixture of circuits, European but also quite a US flavour as well on top of it too. We go to Spa for the first round on the 9th of September. This is straight after the finish of the World Touring Car Championship. Then the first of our 4 North American races, where we go to Watkins Glen, followed by September and Bahrain. Then it's Sebring at the end of September to round off the first half of the season. Imola then comes next, one of my personal favourite circuits, starting round 5. Road Atlanta, home of Petit Le Mans, then comes up in round 6. The last European race is the home of British Motorsport and Silverstone, the Grand Prix circuit for round 7. And we finish on the 28th of October at our 4th American venue, Road America. What a place to crown the champion if it hasn't been crowned already. And of course, back in trusty GT3s, they produced some great action last time we had a World Endurance GT League. We'll see if they can do the same when the Sprint League takes over once we finish the Touring Car Championship in a couple of weeks' time. So the venue tonight then is round number 6 here at the Interlagos circuit, because Interlagos means between two lakes, as it's translated. Of course, it is also known as the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, named after the former Brazilian F1 driver, who I think, if I'm correct, did actually take one of his Grand Prix wins, in fact, if it was his only Grand Prix win, here at his home circuit. So it's certainly a circuit that's close to many drivers' hearts. And of course, it's had many legendary moments over the years in Formula 1, particularly, of course, when Ayrton Senna won his home race for the first time in 1991, even though being stuck in 5th gear. Won it again 2 years later, and then more dramatic times such as the 2008 season finale and the 2012 season finale for Formula 1. And these days, one of the premier categories that races here alongside F1 is also the World Endurance Championship, and they have already been there this season, where we saw a victory for Cadillac, if I remember as well. So interesting stuff. But you can see the layout there, Becky. It's obviously, compared to how it used to be in the past, it used to be a much longer, much more technical lap with a massive outer section on there too. But this circuit, at least, is a tale of 2 stories. It's the fast and flowing section where you've got the S-bend down the back straight towards the last couple of turns. Then that infield section might favour the slightly more twisty and nimbler cars in the field, or the drivers who have the better setup. This is going to be really a case of what do you really want to prefer to set your car up for? The faster sections where you're going for top speed, or the winding sections that are going to be much better for the handling and the turning of the car if you can get it right?
Yeah, definitely going to be where you can make up the most time. And I have a feeling it might be in those tighter corners where you can just lose just a little bit more time if you're not quite nailing those how you should. So again, it's going to be great to find out who comes out on top.
To find out the quickest way around this circuit, we're going to go through our usual hot lap. So we'll take an onboard view of the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache at the wheel of a touring car, and let's show you around how it's done here for round 6 of VRRC. Let's go straight into the video and take a lap of Interlagos. So once again, as always, your pilot is the championship leader, Jack Smith in the BMW, and he'll be taking you around the essentially benchmark time they're looking for. And as you start your lap, you'll be going at full speed as you come up over the crest of turns 14 and 15, out of Subida dos Boxes, and now down the pit straight. Keep it to the right-hand side. Watch for your braking point here on the right-hand side as you dip down through the gears, and almost trail brake a little into the centre S. You take the first apex, just hug the second to keep you on the outside for turn 3. Let the car flow nicely over the curbs and back through onto the back straight, the Retro Aposta. This is the chance as you power out, use the curb on the exit, and now you get to rest for just a little bit, but keep the car on the right hand side, and again spot your braking point before you get to the double apex left-hander of Descida del Lago. Brake about 100 meters, punch it down through the gears at third, just bite the apex, use a little bit of curb as much as you can. Then on the exit curb here, you make the sprint out of Ferradura, up towards Ferradura, which is an uphill right-hander. Quite a tricky corner that can cause you to oversteer just a little bit. You can see the camber just is offset a little bit to the left-hand side. Crest the rise, and you come straight into the technical section straight away. This is now into Laranjinha, which is the first tight hairpin, then the Pinheirino coming through here, and then in towards the next part of the circuit, which is the Ducksbill, or it's also known in the Portuguese language, Biga de Pato. Little twitch as he turns in, late apex as you get back on the power. Then you come up towards Magullo, where you start to plunge downhill through the left-hander and back towards the end of the lap, and could be the most crucial corner on the circuit, which is Jun Sao. You can get this one correct, get a good exit through here, and also not run too wide or get too much oversteer. You can set yourself up for the long drag up the Subida dos Bosches, up the hill, and up through turns 14 and 15. Literally foot to the floor as you go through the two left-handers and back towards the pit straight. And that is quite simply a lap of the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache into Lagos. Hug the inside for the best time. As a reference time, everyone we're looking to try and beat in qualifying. 1 minute 36.72 is the time by Jack Smith on our demo lap. So if anyone can match that in qualifying coming up in a few moments' time. And speaking of qualifying, we're going straight into our qualifying session to see who can come out on top of this one. And we'll see if they've got the speed to try and match a 1 minute 36 in this session. And of course, again, BMW versus Audi. And I agree, Teddy. Yes is the answer, because Oliver Gibson has done a 136.6, which means that he's already beaten the reference time. So that seems to be the top time. But you can also see as well, incredibly close between the top 7 at least. You've got about sort of 0.4 of a second covering the first 7 cars in this one. So already it seems as though, Becky, that we've got quite a tight field already lining up for tonight, and at least the first half of the field all together with about 3 or 4 tenths. That's going to be pretty key, particularly if they stay that close. It could be quite a close affair out in the race later on.
Yeah, it'd be great if it stays this close. Probably the closest round we've had so far. So obviously switching between what's favouring to the BMW and the Audi, so great to see it potentially being so close. So we'll just have to see as Jack goes fastest in the first sector, see how close it does stay once people get into the swing of things.
Jack's certainly getting into the swing of it. Jay Warren's done a personal best in Sector 1, hasn't been able to better his Sector 2, so he's lost a little bit of time as he makes his way back towards the start-finish line to complete his current flying lap. We've got about just under 8 minutes to go, and in fact Jay Warren's going to abandon that lap and head straight into the pit lane as we see Jack Smith, championship leader. Of course, he was the World GT Challenge winner as well, GT Endurance League winner, championship leader in the World Touring Cars. He makes his way out of the middle of the circuit towards the Bico de Pato. Interesting corner. It's uphill and you approach it, very late apex, curve your way around, and then just on the power, accelerating through the gears down the hill. See how he lands at Sector 2, which is just about here, just midway through. It's a personal best. It looks like he's still up at the moment, so he's going to head through. Scott Bugner actually set the fastest lap, and running wide over the curb on the exit's not going to help his exit time here. Still the fastest Sector 1. We'll see if that little mistake on the exit Yun Sao, which I mentioned is probably the most crucial corner on this circuit, because it sets you up for this long drag, this long pull, all the way up the hill and then back down it again towards the pit straight, where you're pretty much flat out all the way till you hit the brakes to about the 100-metre board. Smith goes across the line and lost enough time to not move up anymore. He stays in P6, but the crazy thing is that you look at the times, the top 4 are covered by barely 0.5 of a second, Becky, and you've got 0.2 next, covering the next three or four cars in here too. So this is looking super competitive as Oliver Gibson abandons his lap, even though he was on a personal best in sectors 1 and 2. But this is looking like it's going to be super close tonight in terms of lap times and indeed positions. So I think you might be right. We could be looking at on this competitive and closest field that we've had so far this season, given the fact that all the times are incredibly evenly matched.
What a great week to come back to after missing last week. At least we've come back to what looks like it's going to be a really tight race this evening. We've got Chris Blakey lost a bit of time in his was it his final sector, so going again, trying to see if he can improve on his time, get a bit closer to our top lot at the moment, as Connor Potter's just completing his lap.
He is the personal best in sector 2, but that lap isn't really anywhere near one of his best times. His best time so far is a 1:39.7, so he's half a second off there. As Potter makes his way through, we go back to Chris Blakey, who is on a personal best in sector 1, so we won't see exactly what his sector is going to be until he gets to the end of this infield section, which is quite long, quite technical. Only just under 6 minutes to go. There's a here where Thomas Potter's also improving as well, so we'll keep an eye on him. Currently third fastest. He's on 1:36.655, and he's only 4 tenths off pole position. So Thomas, if you can find a little bit more time on this current lap, as Kenny Press sets the fastest final sector of the race, of the qualifying, I'm not quite there yet. And Kenny has gone second. Kenny was the driver of the round last time, so it shows that he's made some great strides. But the point I was going to make, Becky, is that I tend to see this a lot in championships, is that particularly in sim racing, is that when you have everyone coming into a car it's not too familiar with, you get the initial pace setters, you get the drivers who just gel with it quickly, can get into any car and sim. I think what we're finding now is, particularly a circuit like this, that it seems as though that drivers are starting to get the gist, to getting the hang of how to handle the BMW and the Audis. That's what's making it so even. So whether it's possibly circuit specific or whether it's the pack starting to close up a little bit more, I think you're right in saying that this is probably the most competitive and close we've seen the field so far this season. I think that's just testament to how good these cars are to get the grips with, but also just how high standard the field is. As Potter goes fastest, and he did it in that sense, Becky, without even setting a purple sector time. He didn't set the fastest sector time of anybody, but he strung them together enough to be able to get top time of the session.
Yeah, great lap by Thomas there, and yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I wonder if it is a case of the more they've obviously driven these cars, the more they know their limits, and again knowing the drivers around them as well, and getting the full potential out of it, and again gelling with the car. It seems to be getting more performance out of it, so we're getting better lap times, more competitiveness between all the drivers. So it's great to see everybody coming into their own in the later rounds.
Yes, that means we get the potential for a few others in the mix as well. We're going to go for an onboard lap here with Thomas Potter as we ride on board, like we did. You see a lot as he turns the wheel in for the first part of this infield section. Let's test handling to the maximum. You've got here the Essay and the Pinorino as it dips downwards. You come back up the hill, you get right to the edge of the circuit, break in a straight line, let the car rotate through Bico de Pato. And this downhill left-hander, this circuit which has lots of natural sweeps and dips through it. It's a fantastic facility, but it also, of course, is fitting for modern Grand Prix racing. Because these days it's known as the Sao Paulo Grand Prix rather than the Brazilian Grand Prix. As twitch again, that's from Thomas Potter, and that's not the first time we've seen that. We saw Jack Smith also have the same mistake trying to get up the hill with the traction. I would suspect that the Audis don't have that issue because they are front-wheel drive, of course. But I would suspect as well that that's just drivers pushing as hard as they can, and that sort of time losses means that Potter, he may well go quicker if he can find some time, enough time in the final sector. No, he's off by 4/10, but that was that mistake here. Now, watch Jay Warren here as well to see how he tackles Jun Sao up the hill. There's any twitch over the curb for him. It's tinier this time. It might well be a good time to get up the hill. I feel like that might well be a key thing for a quick lap here, Becky, is that for me, dubbing that as the trickiest corner on the circuit, I wonder if that's going to be quite interesting to see how drivers tackle that in the race, particularly when they're pushing hard. If that's going to lose them time to a car they're chasing in front of them, if they're going to start making mistakes and possibly dropping time in maybe places.
Yeah, those little twitches, you'll end up losing that momentum you've built up and lose a bit of time, and it's just kind of upsets the flow of it. So it's going to be key to, as it is with most tracks, yeah, make sure you're getting consistent, almost near perfect sort of laps, rather than little kind of riding a bit too much around the curbs, a bit too much oversteer out of corners. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who gets the perfect lap lined up every single time.
And hoping to try and get a good lap here is Jamie Page. He's currently on people are saying a lot of purple sectors everywhere because I think they're getting to a point where they're just trying to find a bit more time, and some drivers appear to be either getting a knack or trying to just lock themselves in for a good run here. Page here, if he can keep it nice and tidy, which he has done so far in this lap, maybe trying to get a strong run through Bico de Pato. Now the testing point's going to be here. If he can tackle Magullo nice and carefully up towards the timing beam for the end of sector 2. And what colour is the board? It's green. So still the fastest first sector, and let's look at his exit here. Tiny twitch, but that's okay. Didn't get sideways or run over the curb or rattle it too much. He was much better that time. Now all the way through Subida dos Boches, now through turns 14 and 15. He'll keep it foot to the floor and hug the inside and the pit wall on the sprint to the line. And let's see if he can take a fastest time here. And he does. He goes to the top of the times. Excellent lap there. So that's up by some margin, in fact, by a couple of tenths. 136.4, Jamie Page. And that's exactly tying into the fact that Jack Smith is third fastest, but in the pit lane, and possibly resided in the fact he's starting on the second row of the grid. But Potter we've seen on the front row before. Jamie Page, for qualifying pace alone, that's a new one. That's a new one for me up at the top of the times. He has been around sort of top 5, maybe bottom of top 10, but on this occasion, it does seem as though he's found a bit of groove with Interlagos and could be a dark horse for a really strong result this time.
Yeah, what a great lap from Jamie there. It's good that he's again set it sort of probably in the dying moments, make sure nobody can retaliate too much from it. So hopefully that's him secured for that. Because we've got Thomas Potter with a yellow middle sector, so probably not going to improve on his time as he comes over. And Chris Blake, who finished his last lap, unless he's going to keep pushing on this on the last few seconds as the time now runs out.
So it does run out. We're into overtime for qualifying. So anyone who's on a lap is going to try and finish it. This is Scott Woodwiss, who's currently 5th fastest. Doesn't look as though he's probably going to get any more time if that happens. So qualifying is just about wrapping up and complete. And that means then that Jamie Page has put in quite a storming lap to get himself pole position for race 1. And we'll be hearing from him and the top 3 very, very shortly at the end. So Jamie Page then fastest in qualifying, taking pole position for race 1. Thomas Potter is 2nd quickest and 3rd fastest himself for Kenny Press in the Audi. So we'll hear from all 3 of them in just a moment's time. So we'll quickly go to an ad break, and on the other side of it we'll hear from our top 3 from qualifying ahead of race 1 for round 6 of the World Touring Car Championship here at Interlagos. Stay tuned.
Thomas Kenny.
So back to interviews for our top 3 for qualifying here, the first race tonight here at Interlagos for round 6, and we'll have a chat to our top 3 drivers, or at least most of them at least, because I think unfortunately we don't have a microphone for Jamie Page, so we can't actually hear from him on qualifying. We can hear though from our drivers in 2nd and 3rd, which is Thomas Potter. So Thomas 2nd quickest, excellent lap from you again, Thomas, and you seem to be finding a knack of getting a good lap in qualifying to get yourself up towards the front, and that one was another solid time to get your front row start for race 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm good I couldn't take the pole because I messed up the last corner. I lost about 2 tenths, but what a lap from Jamie to get the point 3 in qualifying. I mean, as well as to Kenny and Matt, well, to go from being like 6th or 7th to getting a P3 out was a mega drive from him as well. But still happy with my lap, and I know I've got a pace in my race, but I'm maybe going to push with Jamie to try to get away from the Audi of Kenny, as them Audis are fast down a straight.
In terms of race 1, of course, from the front row, you know, of course, with the pace that the Audis have got in a straight line, as you mentioned, do you think that's going to be a concern, particularly down out of Junsao all the way up towards turn 1 and down the back straight, or do you think that in the twisty sections, those Audis are going to come back to you and possibly give you a bit of headaches throughout this race? Do you think it's going to be quite a back and forth dynamic between the 2 cars?
To be honest, I think if an Audi gets in front, it's going to be hard, really hard to get back past us. They're decent through the middle sector, like in the twisty turnies. They're not only losing about a tenth and a bit, but then everyone the BMs lose like about that in the straight, as well as with Tour. It's probably going to be about 2 tenths to 3 tenths a lap they're losing in the straights to them. So I think it's just going to be a game of pick your move and defend for your life. For the BMs, the Audis are just going to be picking them off.
Track position is going to be really key. So obviously getting a good start from the front is going to be crucial. So how much are you going to be thinking about holding the line and making sure that you can get yourself a good track position, so that then when the Audis do come, as you suspect they are, you can try and make that BMW as wide as possible?
To be honest, I think whatever happens on the start, if I get a good start and jump Jamie, then gonna try and stay ahead and hope that he pushes with me and doesn't start battling, because as soon as the Audis get involved, well, yet again they're gonna go past. But definitely will make my car as wide as possible, as well. I'm sure anyone would, even if you're in the Audi defending a BM, everyone's gonna try keeping behind, but just make it as wide as possible.
Well, fingers crossed you can make it happen for race 1. Enjoy the front row start, and let's see if you can convert it into a podium finish, and we'll talk to you hopefully later on that one. But best of luck for race 1, and fingers crossed how it gets on.
I quickly give a thank you to everyone over at Napa Racing. You've been amazing over the weekend, as well as everyone on my car, U-Fiber, Kate and Moser, Falcon Computers, and everyone else. You've been amazing, and Olivia and William, this race is for you again.
Great stuff. Well, Thomas, we'll see you for hopefully after race 1, see if you can get another podium.
Thank you.
Stuff. And I think we can also have a quick chat to Kenny Press, who was our driver of the meeting last time at Spa. Kenny, good to see you third fastest in the session. This is looking like you've got some really good form here at this point in time, and a third place in qualifying starting to back that up.
I think Kenny's having microphone issues as well.
Okay. Well, Kenny, we'll say at least Kenny Press, well done for third place. If he has got a microphone, feel to chip in, but good effort from Kenny to get himself a second row start. And we'll see if he can convert that in a few moments' time to this one as well. Whilst we've got the man behind VRRC, Rich Hayden here. Rich, of course, good to have you in the booth for this one before we get started, before we let you go for your race. We did a bit of promo for it just before qualifying started. New series coming up just after the World Touring Car Championship finishes, the World GT Sprint League. Talk us through it, because you've got a real nice mix of European and North American circuits as we have on the screens here. So talk us through it and what we can expect in the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's we try and do like swap between touring car and GT cars between each championship. So obviously we're in tourings at the moment. Kind of meant that we were going to go towards the GT sports cars for the next championship. Had a good idea from somebody to mix up the IMSA and the Le Mans series track, so decided to do a on-off between those throughout the season. The cars are pretty cool. They're from United Racing Design, so we picked the Aston, the BM, and the Ferrari. So they're pretty good cars. So we're happy that we're going to have a good championship. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, quite different dynamics when it comes to the 3 cars. You've got a GT kind of coupe, a sports car, supercar with a front engine, something that's more conventional, like a super saloon with a front engine, and of course you've got the mid-engine Ferrari as well. Much what I had with the BMW and the Audi, are you expecting some circuits to favour the Aston and then some of the BMW or the Ferrari, or do you think it's going to be a case of whoever can get the most out of one of these cars is going to be able to come out on top regardless of what circuit they visit?
Yeah, I think so. There are going to be circuit-specific cars. They all have their individual handling niches, if you like. So they do handle extremely differently. The BM is very solid and planted. The Ferrari, as you can imagine, is a little bit tail happy, and the Aston Martin's a rocket ship down the straights, but struggles a little bit in the corners. So on balance, they are coming out back over a lap through Spa to be very similar on time. So we're comfortable with that. Yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting to see which circuits favours which cars.
Stuff. And in terms of the circuits that you think might produce some of the best sort of racing here, there's a really good selection of European and also the Middle Eastern circuit with Bahrain on the endurance layout now, which is good to see. But in terms of circuits, which ones do you think are going to be the most exciting in terms of the kind of racing these cars can produce?
Well, we haven't done any of the American circuits for a while, so they're going to be quite exciting to get back on. So I'm really looking forward to them. Obviously, Silverstone's a great track for GT cars as well as Spa. They're all great GT tracks. So do you know what? It's very difficult for me to pick a favourite out of those. But I guess Imola's probably one of my favourites. I think a lot of people like Imola. Yeah, I'm looking forward to them all.
I'm with you here generally. Imola is one of my personal favourites as well. I do love a fast. It's got fast with a lot of what I like, which is chicane, so you can kind of ride those curves quite a lot. So that's gonna be quite fun watching the GT cars around there. So yeah, just any additional info for anyone that is looking to get involved or wants to get involved. We've got the calendar in front of us, the 3 cars and the format as well. Any additional info that people need to know before they want to get themselves involved in the next couple of weeks?
If they're interested in getting involved, go to VRRC website, virtualrealityracingclub.com. Go to the sim racing section, and there's a section there for the GT World Sprint. All the information is in there to join our Discord, to sign up, the entry fee, everything's on there. So it's easy to find your way through. But we've also got, just while we're here, I think we've still got a bit of time left. We've got a couple of real world series that we have just signed off as well, which are coming in the very near future. Yeah, so we're going to be running a Scottish Legends Championship, which I'm really looking forward to, and that's in conjunction with Scottish Legends. So that's getting launched with all their drivers this weekend at Croft. So that'll be coming out soon on socials, so people can get involved in that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And the other good thing about that is that we're going to do a lot of testing of the car with the actual drivers as well, and do some tweaks to it to make sure that it handles as it should do. So that's the first one coming up, and that's coming up probably November, December time. We've not finalised the dates yet, but it's going to be November, December. And then the other one that we're looking to do is we're working with Student Motorsport, and we're going to be doing a city car cup. So I know you know, because the conversation's been had between you and JP. So yeah,
yes, there has. Yeah.
yeah. So I had
yes,
really.
Sorry,
Sorry, go on. No, go ahead.
I was going to say that yes, there was a conversation between me and JP where he suggested the route to go, and I'd say, well, have the conversation first and see what you want to do, and then I'm actually quite glad that's come off actually. So I'm quite looking forward to that. That should be excellent.
Yeah, it should be really good fun. So I had a very long telephone call with JP the other day, thrashing out all the details. So he loves to talk, and I love to listen. So it was a good phone call. So yeah, it was really good. And so we're probably going to do that in the new year. But again, dates to be finalised. We're just finalising that across with JP at the moment. But the thumbs up has been given. We just need to thrash out the details now. So a couple of real world championships, and we've got another couple on the back burner as well that we're talking to people on as well. So lots of real world championships. Oh, of course, obviously the other thing is I'm meeting Ria, who runs Mini Challenge at Silverstone in a few weeks to finalise what we're going to do for season 2 of Mini Challenge as well. So lots coming up.
Good. Sounds like lots of plans coming up, and I'm looking forward to that student motorsport contest, whatever form it takes. So should be really good. Right, you've got a race to prep for, so I'll let you go. And fingers crossed we can maybe speak to you later on if you get yourself on the podium.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Bye.
So there goes Rich. As you mentioned, the exciting times coming up for VRRC. You saw the GT World Sprint League, and of course 2 new Real World Series coming up, which, as you mentioned, Scottish Legends and one to do with Student Motorsport. And yes, I was involved in some of the initial conversations with that with JP Latham. So if he is watching, then I did advise him, go and have the conversations, see what the options are, and go for it. And it looks like he has, and it's all in motion possibly for next year, which is brilliant. That's next year. This is now. We've got race 1 coming up here and ready to go very shortly. So the cars will be grading up very, very soon. We've got about roughly a minute to go, so good timing for us here. So Jerry Page then starts on pole position, which is Thomas Potter alongside him on the front row of the grid. Then it's Kenny Press and Jack Smith, the championship leader. Oliver Gibson, Scott Bugner comes next from Jay Warren and Chris Blakey, Rich Hayden and Catherine Potter. And then Jack Dickerson and Connor Potter round out the 12 runners that we have here tonight. Just before we get underway, Becky, any thoughts on what to expect from the start here? It's going to be quite close down towards turn 1. It's quite a funnel you get through here. Is it going to be controlled chaos, or is it just going to be pure chaos?
Hoping maybe controlled chaos. We'll save the full chaos for the reverse grid in a bit. It'll be interesting to see how the Audi gets on. It seems like Thomas Potter was a little bit worried about the speed of that on the straight. So if Kenny can get past him quite early on and give a good fight during the race between them two.
We'll see how the race plays out as the lights are about to come on. So it's now race 1 for round 6 of VRRC World Touring Car Championship at Interlagos in Brazil. Jamie Page looking to convert his pole position into a win or a podium. It's a fairly even start between the front rows. They head down towards Senna S for the first time. Potter slots in behind Page as they head down towards the first couple of corners under brakes. And it's BMWs to the 1, 2, 3, almost 4 as Kenny Press holds the inside line with the second part of the Senna S, trying to muscle Jay Warren aside to hold the position. Top 3 altogether as Jack Smith has already gone to 3rd place and is right on the rear wing of Thomas Potter, not giving him an inch to resist. The 2 later towards BMWs of Jay Warren and I think Oliver Gibson are in the mix as well in there too. Down towards Tessida Delago under brakes, and Jack Smith going for 2nd initially into the first lap. Potter gives him the room. There's a tiny bit of squeeze. Now down the outside, Smith's already going for the lead. He's got a great traction off of Tessida Delago out of the left hand at Ferradura. Now the outside line for the right hand at the top of the hill. Can he make the move stick? They bang doors as they come up to the top of the right hander. It is Smith who runs out wide. Potter's back up the inside for 2nd place. Kenny Press is in the mix too. Gibson's up to 5th position. Now it's Smith on the inside for the next corner, which is the left hander. Slots his way through. Out goes side and up the hill towards it. There's more sideways like that. And first lap had an entire race the past couple of events, but now the whole cars Kenny's on his tails, and it looks as though
Jack's been on one this opening lap. Is just pushed Potter a little bit wide round there, and Kenny looks like he's getting up through into that position as well. Very close between, and the Audi seem to be swamping the Beamers now as we're coming along that straight, which was Thomas Potter kind of predicted. Got maybe a little bit of calm in between as we're ready for the start of the second lap. A lot of kind of noses going in as we've got a spin from Jack. Oh, he's collected. I can't see who he's collected there. One of the Audis. So yeah, a bit of the chaos towards the end of that lap, don't you think, Scott?
Looks like Scott isn't quite with us for the time being, but he did give a challenge to Rich Hayden about getting on the podium, Becky, didn't he? And Rich is trying his best. He's up there, he's fighting with the likes of Oliver Gibson. No slouch on a sim, especially VRRC. Regular viewers know that exactly. But he's up there. Thomas Potter and Jamie Page have somewhat pulled away from this gaggle of BMWs with one Audi featuring. The BMW definitely the favourite car, isn't it, at the moment? Which gets bullied out of it by Jay Warren. I'd say it's control chaos, Becky, which is exactly what you were hoping for at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, completely that. Has caused the two Beamers up front to get away a little bit. That little bit of carnage at the end of the first lap. But I'm sure they'll try to reel them back in as the laps progress. But typical kind of touring cars, isn't it? A little bit of argy-bargy here and there, right?
Yeah, I mean, argy-bargy is exactly what the Audi has been. I think there's no doubt about that. Look at the side of that car, not necessarily that angle, but as he tries to chase down Rich Hayden, on the right-hand side of Scott Woodwiss' car, it's completely indented. I don't know if that'll ruin the aerodynamics. It doesn't seem to be, because he's taken a lunge on Rich Hayden into probably the most popular braking zone and overtaking opportunity in this champion, well, in Interlagos, so to say, going into turn one. They couldn't quite make it happen, though, and I think that's maybe something to do with the good traction that the rear-wheel drive BMW has, obviously, over the Audi front-wheel drive. Audi's potentially better at the medium speed corners, but the BMW is certainly better on the slightly slower speed, as he does now take a lunge on Rich Hayden. Scott Bugner up into 5th place for the time being, but Rich Hayden's trying to respond, Becky.
Yeah, some good battling going on here, and I wonder if it's going to continue all the way to the end, a battle between these two. Like you say, the Beamers have that initial sort of grunts to get them going a bit quicker, but the Audis just seem to have, as soon as they pick up that speed, they're in it. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, especially between these two. But we have got the Beamers behind them of Chris Blakey and Jack Smith just ever so slightly getting closer and closer, so they'll soon be putting the pressure on these two as well.
They will indeed, yes. We're having a few of the comments saying that there's a bit of audio disparity between myself and Becky. That is because I've jumped in at the last second. Scott's, unfortunately, just had a few connection issues, I believe. I've turned myself up slightly. Let me know in the YouTube chat to tell me whether that is better or worse. You might be able to hear me more. That may well be worse, but please do keep that opinion to yourself. Scott Bugner is probably the closest driver we've got out there. Actually, no, I tell a lie. Kenny Press is having a little look up the inside of championship leader Jack Smith. Did you expect Jack Smith to be this far down, Becky? Really struggling at the bottom half end of the field. I mean, I know he had that contact. I think he had a spin, didn't he? I didn't really see much of that spin because I was trying to panic and get my mic turned on. But I would have expected him to progress forward over the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, you were too busy diving into the rescue there, so we'll let you off. Yeah, Jack Smith, I don't know if it was a bit of contact or if he just lost it going down into the first corner or out of the first corner, and then unfortunately got collected by another car, so that definitely delayed him a bit. So yeah, definitely not what you expect to see from Jack Smith, and I'm sure he'll try to rectify that as best as he can as this race plays out, and he's always got the reverse grid to make up for it as well. It did look like he was really on it at the start of that race and trying to pick off people, and yeah, he would have been probably leading if we hadn't had that slight spin.
Well, that's it. I mean, racing's full of if buts and maybes, isn't it? 80% disappointment, 20% elation, unless you're the likes of Jack Smith, in which case it's pretty much flipped the other way round. Mere mortals cannot compete with his win ratio at VRRC, unfortunately. But other drivers have gotten better. I know he's a big advocate for Oliver Gibson's improvement over when I was commentating, and I think probably to the point now where he's stopped encouraging Oliver Gibson so much because Oliver's probably sort of getting to that level where he's actually giving him more of a headache week in, week out. Scott Bugner is a driver we have had at VRRC for pretty much the entirety of the time I've known about VRRC. Rich Hayden obviously has been around even longer, and they are doing battle out there on circuit still. But that side of that Audi just looks a little bit worse to wear. I think that was the impact of Jack Smith going on his right-hand side where it says Swayze Motors. It doesn't seem to be slowing him down, that's for sure, because again, we're going to see a carbon copy move going into turn 4 for Scott Bugner. And again, Rich Hayden is going to have to think about something to try and keep it around the outside. He's not going to manage it this time, but as we go towards the infield, you can expect a reply for the BMW.
Oh yeah, he's not going to let it go that easy, is he? Like I said, I think it's going to be a back and forth between these two. Oh, a little bit wide there from Rich, a bit of a drift around that corner. That's definitely not going to help with trying to catch Scott round the track.
No, it is not. And as Rich Hayden tries to hold off the attacks of Chris Blakey, that's certainly not an invitation from Rich. That a little bump to just try and put him off the centre bit, but Chris Blakey sees the gap, goes for it. Rich Hayden and Chris Blakey are now inviting Jack Smith to have a little nibble. And I tell you what, speaking of inviting, I'm going to invite Scott Woodwiss. Are we back, Scott?
Yes, we are. My cake decided to let me down for a second there, so for whatever reason went weird, but I'm back now. So typically probably missed most of the action that was going on. Now it's going to settle down. But thank you for impromptu filling in there, Jack. I was trying to sort myself out. All good stuff. So it looks as though we're still got Jamie Page leading the way. This is the fight here going on for 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th is the main focus at the moment. And Jack Smith not as high up as he'd like to be, a bit further down. Press trying to hold on. He goes back up the inside to get past Rich Hayden. He's been now dive bombed for the second lap in succession into the centre S. Smith makes the move, and Kenny Press now gets the onboard view to see if he can try and capitalise on Hayden. Through the left-hander they go. And now back onto the winding back straight. Back up into 5th gear now, up towards the red line into 6th. He's got the toe on Hayden, who doesn't really defend on the approach towards Desida Delago. Under brakes goes the Audi and shooting straight past, but is he going to brake himself? He does. Hayden does the up and under on the undercut and back through he goes. So that was a bit of an interesting plan to try and get through there, Becky, but it didn't quite work as I think Kenny tried to make the dive, realised he braked a little bit too late, and because of that, that's what's now put him further back and back to square one. As we see Potter still comfortably chasing Page out in front, the gap about just under a second.
Yeah, that gap between Jamie and Thomas has closed down now. So Thomas obviously maybe just sat back a little bit and is now thinking I need to try to make a move on Jamie and get past him. So we'll see if that comes to fruition towards the later sort of laps of the race.
Also then keeping in pursuit as Page is now, that gap has come down, it was near a second, but it's now come down to about 6/10. So a good run through John Sowell, as I mentioned in qualifying. That's probably, as I said, the key corner, which is going to be crucial to get a good run all the way down this section through the pit straight and up towards the braking zone for the centre S. Across the line they go, the gap is still roughly around about 6/10 of a second. They come back into the braking zone, let the car just swing through. And that braking on that left and then right, and then left again through centre S. Jack Smith back in 7th place, and then make a huge dive up the inside to catch Chris Blakey completely off guard. And Blakey just played ball, didn't really fight it too hard. But just to say that, he's coming back around the outside of turn 2, so he's not finished here. What do I know? Blakey gets his nose back in front. Smith will have to try and get him back here on the approach towards Desida Delago. Down the Retro Apostle they go. He's got a big toe on the rear wing of Blakey's car. Will he dart out last minute? He does. Makes that slightly later run in towards the apex. Gets the move switched. And it seems as though this is one of those circuits, Becky, with these touring cars, it really is inviting proper wheel-to-wheel, door-to-door action where you can get really good momentum and try and pull yourself alongside as Blakey goes to the outside line. Didn't quite make that one stick, but he's not giving up, trying to get back past Smith and putting back behind him for what will be 6th position.
Yeah, it's definitely seeing who's a bit braver on the brakes and who wants to leave it that little bit later to go in to hit the brakes before going into the corner, and again they're making sure they're staying on track and not running too wide over to lose the position again, as Thomas is really pushing and he's right on Jamie's bumper now. So you can imagine there's going to be a move as we come across the line to then start the next lap. I reckon maybe a dive into turn 1. What do you think?
Potentially. I mean, initially it was a good run off the corner, but it seems as though Page got much better traction, it seems. He's in the slipstream, but unless he comes from so far back, it's almost impossible. I can't see him making a move here. He does close in under braking, so that might well put him in a better position for the next few corners, through the left, through the right, and then up over the curves to the run towards Tessida Delago, out of the centre S, and this could be the opportunity he's looking for. He's close enough to get a toe off the back of Jamie Page here. The second place man getting closer and closer into Jamie's mirrors. You might have a think about it. He at least put himself into the mirrors of Page under braking, right over the curb, but that's going to cost him a little bit of momentum. He keeps his foot in. And this is that part of the race where we go into the second half where pressure is absolutely key. If Thomas can stay here and try and save his tyres a tiny bit, but also even force Jamie into a mistake, Becky, here. That's the crucial thing. If he can simply keep on driving his race and pushing Jamie to go quicker, that could be the sweet spot where Jamie makes that mistake and actually makes a twitch or makes something happen, which potentially could give him the place without even trying too hard.
Yeah, all it takes is that little twitch, maybe a bit of a drift round a corner, and you've lost that time. So, and I'm sure any driver behind watching that will be ready to pounce. So in Thomas's case, I'm sure he'll be waiting for that moment and a little slip up maybe as we switch back to Kenny Press, who's been chasing Rich for a little while now, seeing if he can get past. He was close a couple of corners ago, but couldn't make anything of it. So we'll see if he's able to do anything this time round.
A chance for Kenny Press to put Rich Hayden under attack. This will be for 7th position. Another direct comparison of the BMW versus the Audi. We know what happened last time is now Jack Smith has had an issue or dropped way back. He's down to 11th. So what's happened to the championship leader? Something has gone awry for the man who's head of the points, but he's back in 11th place. He's back up to speed now, but it looks like he's made an error of some kind that's put him outside the top 10. That's a rare occasion for the points leader Jack Smith, as Kenny Press now tries to set up a replication of his move on Hayden, which didn't quite come off first time, if you remember. He braked a little too hard late on the inside line, ran deep and gave Hayden the chance to get back through. This time he takes the outside approach down towards Tessida Delago, loses the back end off into the barriers. He lost it completely, cannons into the side of Rich Hayden. Both cars are off the road, and unfortunately that was just Kenny not fully pin that on him. I think we'll leave it to the steward to decide if there was a particular blame or not, but just from what we saw there, Kenny looked to try and make the move, lost control, hit the barrier, and from there he was an absolute passenger. And sadly, the culprit, the victim for that as well, as a result of that, unfortunately, was Rich Hayden. Both of their races have been compromised, but it was a bit of a close one, but unfortunately, that was the circumstances.
Yeah, unfortunately, it happens with racing, doesn't it? Especially when you're so close and probably again getting a bit frustrated with being behind the same driver for so long, and you're thinking, I've got the pace, I can get round them. So yeah, unfortunate there, but I'm sure they'll keep racing.
Our leaders once again, still Page and Potter close together. Gibson's 2 seconds off the lead at the moment. You just saw him there in a glimpse in the background. Now we make the run up the hill once again towards top of the crest, and Jack Smith, who is not, he's made up 2 places easy enough because Rich Hayden and Kenny Press gave him 2 free passes from 11th down to 9th, or up to 9th, which means that he's now got an opportunity to take up 2 more positions if Jack Dickerson and Catherine Potter start squabbling too much. They're down towards the centre S under brakes, but we know that Jack will be slightly better in that BMW. And Catherine just maybe hesitating a tiny bit in the middle of the centre S. That checks up Jack Dickerson. And this gives Jack Smith the opportunity he needs, and Smith will want to try and dispatch these 2 pretty quickly if he can. He knows he's got the pace to get ahead of them both. He's now getting involved in a fight that really he doesn't want to be a part of. He's now got a grandstand seat for us as Dickerson looks to the outside of Potter in towards Tessida Delago. There's a spit of flame and he looks quickly around the outside to spook Potter, who didn't quite really realise that he was going to be there. Holds her line through the left-hander of the exit that corner up towards Ferradura. Now it's side by side, and Smith is now boxed into the right-hander. He's got the inside line to get the place. Potter's got no choice and might get 2 for the price of 1. Almost clips the back of Dickerson's car as he goes to move across. Now he touches wing mirrors with Potter. Back up the inside he goes there to try and hold on to the place towards the Pinheirino. Potter has no choice but to submit and let him have the place. But that was a situation there, Becky, where I'm pretty certain Jack Smith could probably have done without getting boxed in by 2 cars, which, all due respect to them, were not quite on the same pace as him. He's impatient to get back through the field and score as many points as he can to make sure it's the days that you don't win races that you win the championship. He needs the points, has to try and dispatch them quickly. Now that he has, that was a bit of a hold-up he could have done without.
yeah, damage limitation for Jack now. And yeah, it's not what you need coming across two people that are so engrossed in their own battle that they might not be too aware of another faster car approaching from behind. So it's good. He's got through fairly cleanly, a few little bumps here and there, but nothing too major, so he can keep on his way up the road to hopefully see if he can close. It's about 7 seconds or 11 seconds, sorry, gap now to him to Chris Blakey. So he's got a lot of work to do in only about just over 3 minutes remaining, but you never know.
Well, we might do something in a minute if Potter decides to really put the pressure on even more on Jamie Page, because as we mentioned, it just forces him into one mistake or finds that one bingo move that he needs to try and score himself down the outside. We'll have to wait and see. So through the left-hander and up the hill now towards Pico de Pato. And we'll see if he's got any more pressure to give here. There's a little sneak up the inside. He just saw a little gap there going through Mergulo. Now down the hill up towards John South. This really crucial corner. Now if Potter can stay here, get a really good run off the corner and stay into Page's slipstream, this could be the best chance he's had. He's right on his rear bumper as they come up the hill now, all the way through Subida dos Boxes. This could be the bingo opportunity he needs. Onto the pit straight with 2 minutes to go. Is this going to be a move for the lead here as Potter closes in further and further in the slipstream? Which way will he go down towards Senna S? He's going to dart out one way or the other. Thinks about it inside. Page chose the block, so he has to go right round the outside in towards the first corner, but that's not going to distract him. Into turn one he goes, out of the second part, but Page holds his line and holds the place for the time being. Back onto the run up the Tessina de Largo, or the Retro Aposta, and again Page is not comfortable on the racing line. He has to go to the inside to defend it. Potter wants it back on the inside towards the Tessina de Largo. They both hit the brakes together and they just about rub doors, but Page is going to hold on, squeezing to the outside on the curb again. This is real wheel-to-wheel stuff, but the key thing is look in the background, because Thomas Potter and James Page might well be caught by Oliver Gibson in third position, because he's only 2 seconds behind. But I've said it so many times in commentary, Becky, the harder these two fight each other, the easier it is for Oliver Gibson to make it a three-way fight and close in very quickly. Look, he's really gained 4 tenths in one section.
Yeah, he's slowly been closing in on these two, and like you say, the more they battle, the more opportunity it's given Oliver Gibson to get in there at the last minute. But Jamie Page, his defending has been phenomenal this race. He seems to has the widest car possible, not given too much room in enough room, but yeah, not too much where it's making it that easy for Thomas to get round. So it's been some great racing between them two. It's a shame we won't be able to hear what Jamie was thinking during these moments, and what his tactics were if it was just full defence, but I'm sure one day we might get to speak to him.
Potentially. Blakey's going to try and steal 5th position if he can, if he's got a good run up the hill here. We're going on to the last lap of the race. So Jamie Page wants to hold on to this victory. He's going to hold on for another lap of the Interlagos circuit if he can. This battle for 5th will go on all the way towards the checker flag, I'm certain. But Kenny Pratt, that it's going to be Scott Buckner, who's had a slightly anonymous race in this position. So we come up through the first few corners. Time has hit 0, so they will go to the checker flag this time by. Page has got a little wayward through the breakers over the Tessina de Largo. That gives Poth the chance to get back at him. They ride over the curb on the sprint towards Ferradura. The gap now, Oliver Gibson's pulled in another 3 tenths. He's 1.4 behind. He might be too little too late here, but he can see the two cars in front battling as Page again takes a slightly wider approach over the top of the crest, back towards the complex here of tight corners and hairpins, back towards the Pinarino. It is nose to tail for the lead, but Jamie Page only has to hold on for half a lap here to make this work. And Thomas Potter might well rue the opportunity. If he doesn't get it, he goes back down the outside to try and get the switch back, exiting Pico de Pato. There's still no room to get through. There's about 4 corners left here. Mergulo, no opportunity here. Page sweeps across and takes his racing line. Down through Jean Sao again, going defensive. There's nothing to go here. He's practically on Page's rear bumper. Tries to get the up and under, but Page parked the car on the apex. That might compromise his run, and this could be a literal photo finish. And look how close Gibbs is getting. He's less than a second behind. He might have a possible chance to snatch one of these positions if he takes too close. We're going to head to the line and the checkered flag. Despite everything Thomas Potter threw at him, it is going to be a victory in race 1 of the evening here at Interlagos for the World Touring Car Challenger VRRC for Jamie Page at the line, and he holds on by a fraction under 0.2 of a second in the end. That was fine defence from Jamie Page, but also at the same time, credit to Thomas Potter for pushing him all the way. And also, key thing there, look at what the gap did, Becky, in that sense as well. Because the fact we had Oliver Gibson was closing in when the two were fighting, the gap got down to a second. It was 2.1 at one point. He gained a second in 2 laps, and he was almost on the verge of getting himself a possible run for the podium.
Yeah, it was a very sort of full-on finish there. My heart's going a little bit there, but yeah, great racing by the top two, and then yeah, to see Ollie Gibson come in towards the end, it was yeah, definitely a bit of touch and go at moments. So yeah, great race that.
Really was. Some drivers better races than others. Of course, we should mention Oliver Gibson did get third, so we'll keep with that one. Jay Warren was fourth in the end with that one. Scott Bunker takes the top 5, so he did manage to hold on Chris Blakey. Jack Smith, 7th, so after his little escapade, he holds on for a P7. Again, as we said, it's the days where you don't win races that will win you the championships. It was damage limitation for Jack in that sense. You can see the rest of the top 10 and finishes on the screen. So, entertaining action from race number 1 all the way through. We'll have a chat to our top 3 very, very shortly, as once again we'll go to a quick ad break. And on the other side, we are going to have a chat with our top 3 in reverse order and see how they found that one, and see how Jamie Page somehow kept Thomas Potter behind, taking victory in race number 1. We'll find out after these messages. Back in 2. We might only get a chance to talk to 2 drivers from the end of that race, because it's usually once again Jamie Page is having 1 or 2 mic issues, shall we say, unfortunately. So we might not get a chance to talk to him, but we will talk at least to the drivers who finished 2nd and 3rd. We'll give the congratulations at least to Jamie Page for the victory. So we'll start with Oliver Gibson in 3rd place. Oliver, congratulations, another strong podium, more good points for the championship. But I have to ask, you were watching those 2 in front fighting in front. What was going through your mind? Were you almost thinking, come on, get a bit closer so I can try and get myself a 2nd place here? Was that playing through your mind in the last couple of laps?
To be honest, I was hoping they would crash, but that didn't happen because they're 2 good drivers. So, but yeah, I just was hoping I could get a bit closer, but obviously just couldn't get there in the end. I just kept making these silly mistakes in turn 1. Some laps I just kept going wide, and then at the last corner, just rubbish exits every lap. So I just couldn't quite get there. But I was watching it, and it was good entertainment. But I just wish I was in it. But yeah, no, it was a good race. Bit of a chaotic start, not a great one for myself, and then yeah, just from there it was trying to catch the 2 in front, but unfortunately not today.
Even so, it's a good 3rd place. You had a bit of you almost seemed a little bit of no man's land a little bit in that race. In terms of your pace wasn't bad at all, but kind of the top 2 kind of got away a little bit, and you had better fortunes and pace than some of the other cars behind. So again, it's a good situation to be in to give yourself a podium finish, particularly ahead of the likes of Jack, who had seemingly a bit of a nightmare race back in 7th.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a nice, calm one tonight. Luckily, that one was. I didn't really see what happened to Jack, so I'll have to have a look on the replay. But yeah, it was good points to get, especially after last week was a bit of a rubbish round. Race 1 wasn't great, and then race 2 we just had a big crash. So to get a 3rd today is pretty good. Just hoping the same again for this race, but if I'm in no man's land at the front, that would be much better than being in no man's land in 3rd. So fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, well, you've got race 2, of course, coming up now. So obviously things change around a little bit for that one. What is the plan now for race 2? Just try and, as usual, just score as best as you can, keep in front of the main championship rivals, and just keep it clean, or have you got some kind of a game plan going into the 2nd race?
I never really have a game plan for these races. I just go into turn 1, see what happens. but no, there is a plan, and that is stay out of trouble, basically. That's what I try and do every week. So, well, stay out of more trouble, stay out of less trouble actually than I did last week, because that was a big crash. Shame it wasn't on stream, because that was a almighty one, but it'll be fine. Not sore or anything. Best thing about sim racing. So, just yeah, get through. No big crashes this week, and hopefully finish on the podium. Second will do, and first will be even better. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, we'll get prepped for that, but congrats on a solid set third place, and we'll see if you can try and replicate that or better in race number 2. It's more sort of points for the championship, so excellent job, and we'll see how you get on in race 2. Well done.
Cheers.
So there's our third place man, Oliver Gibson. He only just missed out on getting involved in that top 2 fight, and then one of the key elements in that was Thomas Potter in second place. And Thomas, is it fair to say frustrated because you had a really good run in the last 2 or 3 laps where you were that close to getting past Jamie, but it has to be second best. But that, like, at least it was good fun trying to wrestle the lead away.
To be honest, I wasn't going to go for a move on Jamie until the last couple laps, and only on places where we don't lose as much time, because I knew as long as I had a gap of at least a second to Ollie, I wouldn't be in a risk of getting overtaken, and it was just good consistent points. But as I'm trying to, well, I believe I might be able to have a chance of getting top 3, maybe. Well, I know definitely top 5 if I keep this up, but maybe a top 3. So that's what I'm going for in the championship now.
Absolutely. Of course, through that whole point where you had that front row start and you're kind of tailing in for most of that race, were you just hoping that essentially the pace was going to come back to you, or hoping there was a mistake, or did you seem to find more pace in the second half of the race that allowed you to close back up to Jamie and put that pressure on the last couple of laps?
To be honest, we were so even on pace. Like, well, it was one lap I had better, then the other lap he had better, and well, so it was just more or less whoever's makes the least amount of mistakes is going to win. But it ended up being, well, him winning, but it was very close. And I believe if I wanted to go for one of the silly moves, which I know I normally do, I could have had it. But at the same time, I know he would have definitely been on the way to cut it back on me and probably get a switchback. So it would have been close either way, and anyone could have won it in that race out of me and him.
Race 2 coming up then. So race 2 coming up then in terms of this sense. I mean, obviously there'll be a bit of a switch around with the grid, but what are you hoping for this one? Just to try and, again, as usual, keep the nose clean, stay out of trouble, and just try and pick off some good positions in order to get yourself a maximum score and hopefully stay ahead of the likes of Oliver and Jack around you for good points for the championship.
Well, I'm hoping it goes a bit better than my starting race one. It well, although I still came out of the lap in the first 2 laps in second. I was in the middle of a Audi sandwich with and Jack Smith was there as well as Ollie, so it was very struggling. But I decided just keep it on the inside, as I know everyone spins off to the outside, and well, that's what happened. Everyone managed to spin off to the outside, and I was sailing through. So then I was like, Ollie's there, so I was like, okay, I've got to pick up the pace, maybe gain a bit on Jamie, which managed to happen, and then after that, I was just kind of sitting in second, not too worried, and I was like, I'm not going to go for it if he makes a mistake, because other than that, I'd probably end up losing second to Ollie.
Well, let's see if you can replicate that. But congratulations on second place, and you just missed out on the win by 0.2 of a second. But if you can get yourself in the same position, I'm sure it can possibly happen again. So congrats, and I'm sure you've got some people that you want to thank for your performance as well.
Yeah, again, huge thanks to everyone on my car, U5BK, Moser, Falcon Computers, Britain's Prep Right, 22 on, I could go on and on. Huge thanks to all you made it maintenance as well. And well, huge thanks to everyone over at Napa, as well as well, Olivia and William, that race was for you, and this one is going in as well. But again, huge thanks to Rich Hayden for hosting this mega championship. As well as the mini one I just finished, that was the best championship I've ever driven, but this is a close competitor, as everything's so close and it's so entertaining to drive in. So huge thanks to him, and as well as you and Becky as the commentators, and Jack. Probably going to pronounce the last name wrong, Oliphant, I think. For the for streaming it as well. Huge thanks to all users, well as my parents and my granddad watching, and all my family, and huge thanks to everyone for setting this up. And let's go and have an amazing race too for everyone to watch.
Indeed so. Congratulations for second, and we'll see you get on in race 2. Let's go.
Thank you.
And yeah, of course, shout out to Jamie Page, of course, as well. Excellent victory. Not hearing no microphone issues for him, unfortunately, so we can't fully talk to him. But again, deserves the plaudits. Managed to do so from the front, from pole position, held on and survived the pressure from Thomas Potter in the closing stages, and just held on by 0.2 of a second to take the victory. So well done to him. So that is race 1 completed. We're now moving straight into race 2, where the grid gets a little bit more jumbled up and it makes things a little more unpredictable. But we like that in motorsport. It's the one element I think we like the most, which is unpredictability, because you never know what's going to happen next in a motor race in many cases. It's getting set for race 2 then. That was quite a race. Obviously, just a few more bits that you saw in front of before me in that sense. Becky and I had some microphone issues on that side. We've got about 2 minutes before the race starts. But from that entire race, it looked as though, particularly out front, it was Jamie versus Thomas at the front. Thomas took a little bit of time to get to the back of Jamie. Once he did, he was really applying the pressure. But I think it says not just how strong Thomas's attack was, but how good the defence was of Jamie to be able to hold him off and take that victory.
Yeah, there was a little bit of an incident with Jack Smith that seemed to hold the rest of the pack up a little bit, and I think got collected by it was Scott, wasn't it, in the end? Scott Bugner with his very dented Audi going around, but they just went off. So it'll be interesting to see at the start of this one if they can make a good progress through the pack and see if they can get back up to the leading sort of pack quite early on, because they definitely have the pace to do that. So it'll be yeah, I'm sure it'll be great, as reverse grids always are. But yeah, maybe more organised chaos, definitely more organised than the chaos, please, everyone.
We'll hope so. We'll wait and see. We've got the grid in front of us here a little bit, which we can see we've got BMW and Audi on the front row of the grid. So that's certainly one of the, I think it's Connor Potter on pole position by the look of it, I think. And then it's Jack Dixon alongside him on the front row of the grid, yeah, from Catherine Potter and Rich Hayden at the front. So, of course, we've got the pretty much the complete up and under reverse in a way. We've got Jack Smith, who's back there in 4th position on the grid. So we'll sit back to, or 4th from last on the grid. But the 2 front row men from the 2 winners from the first race, Jamie Page and Thomas Potter, are right there at the back of the grid. They've got a lot of work to do to pick their way through from the back. So it is going to be Connor Potter then trying to pick himself up a strong result from pole position, but we know the faster guys are going to come through, so do watch for the likes of Jack Smith. He won't stay there from the back from the start, neither will Jamie Page, and neither also will the second place man Thomas Potter on top of that as well. So, last few seconds before the lights go on, and we are set then to see if we can replicate what was an excellent first race and pretty chaotic, but can we do the same again in race number 2? The 5 lights are on, and race 2 for round 6 of VRRC World Touring Cars is underway. It's a clean start from pole for Potter. He gets the run down towards turn 1. Rich Hayden's up the inside from the second race to try and make it 3 wide between Catherine Potter and Jack Dickinson, and straight into second place goes the man for VRRC. It's wheel to wheel between Potter, who tries to stay out of the way, bumps over the curb, is being swarmed by cars around. Gibson gets sideways over the curb, battling with a fast starting Thomas Potter. Wiggle their way out of the Senna S, down the Rato Aposta onto the Desida de Largo. That's Jay Warren trying to get the mix there. Rich Hayden not wasting any time at all, down the inside of Connor Potter into the Desida de Largo and takes the lead, just corners into the opening lap of this race. So out all the first few corners, Hayden leads, Potter down to second from the lead from pole position, Dickinson third, Blakey fourth, Warren in 5th position, but he's now going wheel to wheel with Blakey to try and take the place, and doesn't find any advantage on the outside line. He tries it though, just carries way too much speed. That gives Scott Bugden the free pass up through Ferradura. We can see Thomas Potter already up to 7th and not hanging around for the back of the grid. So a fast and frantic start as we expected on that one, Becky, but thankfully a little more civilised in the first few corners. But the guys from the back are already making moves up towards the front.
Don't jinx it too early. It was the start of the second lap where things seemed to kick last time. So let's hope we get through that nice and cleanly. But yeah, Thomas Potter, great start there. Like you say, already up to P7. And hopefully Rich Hayden might have a better race, as he did let us into a little secret that he was actually running a qualifying setup last race, so that always helps when you've got your race set up. So hopefully he can go full distance, and yeah, maybe even we'll speak to him at the end of the race.
May well do. There's lots of side-by-side action going on here anyway. We've got Jack Dickinson with Blakey and Bugner in the mix as well. There are 4 of them together. It's 2 Audis and 2 BMWs, nearly 4 abreast down towards the centre S. They're side-by-side behind also. Getting out wide as Potter clattering inside of Dickinson. Dickinson got loose and Potter saw the gap. Couldn't quite make that one stick as they turned their way through. Little out wide of shape there is Jake Warren. He's now on the grass on the exit. Did jinx it, didn't I? There's been cars going all over the place, and it's only the start of lap number 2. Bugner now going for second on the inside of Chris Blakey, at least he thinks about it. Stays in the slipstream, turns his way through the left-hander, and now back on the pace all the way through, arcing through the... Well, there's one car that went flying in the background. There's one car's gone over. That is Scott Bugner, who's gone right backwards. That's Jack Dickinson. Forgive me, it's Jack Dickinson. It's a very similar-looking car, Bug Racing car. It's the second of those, which we don't have. We have one of the trials missing this tonight this weekend. Connor Potter going side by side with Gibson, who takes the outside line. There's Jamie Page behind in the typical BMW factory M Sport colours, if you like, as they swing through. And here again, Gibson gets the inside line, just tucks in and gets past to defend from Jamie Page. Back up the hill they'll go for 5th, 6th and 7th. So it still hasn't quite calmed down from that little skirmish down the pit straight there, Becky, but they're starting to filter a little bit now. Jack Smith's already up to 4th as well. We saw to watch from him starting 10th on the grid. Up to P4 now, trying to chase after the top 3. But it seems though now that Connor Potter, I don't want to say it's impolitely at all, but pace-wise it appears to be a little bit of a cork in the bottle, because Gibson's right there trying to get past him. But Potter's putting up a pretty steadfast defence here and making everyone else stack up behind him.
Yeah, he's eager to get past him, so I'm sure he'll be. That will be this first port of call as he exits out of this corner onto the pit straight. And yeah, nicely done. We'll see how many others might go for a little bit of a weave round and try to make the move round to be able to push on, get up to the pace. Jamie Page has made his way through, and unfortunately, all that hard work Thomas had done at the beginning, he has dropped back after a bit of a collision with Jack Dickinson, but I'm sure he'll keep pushing right to the end as well.
Side by side at the exit of the Decido de Largo, this is still Blakey going well with Bugner over 3rd position. Hayden still 2nd, in fact, actually, because Hayden has got that lead. He knows if he keeps at this rate, there's still 16 minutes to go. Could we be looking at a Rich Hayden victory or a podium here? He's got a clear bit of gap here. Bugner tries to go back around the outside to hold that place, but here comes Jack Smith. He's on the outside. I just got a nah from Jack Oliphant in that one. He doesn't think it's going to happen, but let's see if we can hold on to it. You might surprise us with a bit of steadfast defence here. Watching the fight for 2nd between Chris Blakey and Scott Bugner. Bugner tries to get that inside line again. He's on the outside for the next corner, which is Magullo. Putting the pressure on, but we've seen it before. The cars in front of these two cars here will keep on battling. Jack Smith will only take full advantage. He knows he's got to keep on pushing and pressing and trying to find a way through. On board with Scott Bugner, then up through the gears. 3rd gear, then 4th gear, over 100 miles an hour now, into 5th, through the Subida dos Boches, now up through this flat-out left-hander. See Rich Hayden up in front of us as well, and that'll be an incentive for both Blakey and Bugner, both for Bugner to try and get past Blakey, and for Chris to try and defend himself, but also try and push off after him. He's a 2.5 seconds behind, so he's got some work to do to try and catch him.
Yeah, it's like the carrot on a stick just dangling in front of you. You're just eager to get there, but there's the same said then with your mirrors looking back and seeing Jack Smith slowly. I say slowly. He's never slow, is he? So yeah, fast approaching and putting on the pressure on these two. And like you said, the more these two battle, Rich will be laughing. It's like, great, you two keep doing that. Bring Jack in, and he'll be off down the road, happy as Larry.
Let's see. So, the two BMWs are ganging up on the back of Scott Bugner's car now. Bugner has got 2nd. They're trying to get back at him, and Blakey's enthusiasm to try and get back past the Audi has only opened the door firmly for Jack Smith to try and squeeze his way through, which he almost does. He's got the outside line for the next corner. They're going to go wheel to wheel on the exit out of the Pinerino. Now for Biga de Pato. This is now advantage Smith, unless Blakey feels bold enough to try and hold it around the outside, which he does. Might well find himself offline, and yes, he has to slot in, capitulates and thinks discretion is the better part of valor this time, and Smith is up into 3rd position. So Smith has now got 13 3/4 minutes to try and get past Bugner, and then to try and chase after Rich Hayden. And I think really, I don't want to say Rich just needs to enjoy his day in the sun, because he's got legitimate decent pace to hold on by 1.6 seconds. It all depends now on, first of all, if, and then how quickly Jack Smith catches him out in front, if he can try and make his way past.
Yeah, he'll be hoping Scott Bugner's going to put up a fight when Jack gets a bit closer, but it seems like Scott's getting a bit of a breather as these two Beamers keep battling for position.
Towards the centre S we go, a little further back. This is Kenny Press scrapping with Jay Warren, and also there is Thomas Potter. Something's happened to Thomas off camera. We didn't see what happened to him though. He was up there quite high, but he's dropped back and he's now into 9th place. Trying to recover on the back of both Press and Warren. Down the back straight they go. Sprint towards Decido de Largo. Just hearing him here, yeah, I think what might have happened is he may have got caught up with the incident with Jack Dickerson, I think, maybe, because there was the Audi going on its roof and up and over up at Ciudad del Lago a couple of laps ago. Thank you for that, Jack, because I think that actually has possibly, that may have been, he maybe the other car that was caught up in that and lost a couple of places, so there's good memory on that for whoever's watching. So thank you for reminding us of that one. Through the Pinorino. Press is going to keep on having a look. There's the sort of first few cars all filtering their way through. So the top 5 isn't too far ahead of Thomas at this moment, Becky, and it's still got more than half the race to go. So it's not totally over for Thomas. And we talked about the fact that pace-wise, these cars are all very evenly matched, it seems, and the drivers are very evenly matched. That's not what Bud needs to do. He uses enough curb, but just uses a bit too much. Interestingly enough, Blakey's coming back at Jack Smith here behind them, so this is now side by side for third place, and Blakey goes back through, so a shaky exit from Jun Becky has given given Chris third position. Blakey's back down to fourth, and look who's coming up behind him, Oliver Gibson.
Yeah, it's closing in now, so we're Scott will be pleased about this. He can just focus forward as these two keep battling, and like you say, bringing another racer in on it, so it's only going to get spicier as this goes on. Be interesting to see how Thomas goes as well. I know he was playing his cards right with the last race, so he was waiting to the later laps. Obviously, he probably doesn't have that luxury this time round. He's wanting to get past people as quickly as he can. But yeah, it's getting very close between these three now, as Ollie Gibson's basically on the bumper of Chris Blakey now as well.
Close. This is not what Jack Smith needs, particularly with the fact that Blakey's giving him plenty of headaches. All this is doing as well is it's helping Rich Hayden stay in the lead here, although Scott Bugner now is closing up with him pretty quickly, so it's a case of, as I said, when rather than if he gets past, although Rich I'm sure won't just open the door for him and just let him through. He'll try and defend as hard as he can, and also closing quickly back in. You've got this trio of BMWs with Smith, Blakey and Gibson looking pretty close. So through Bico to Pato, now out of the right-hander, just down the hill they go. Let's see, is there anything here? Bugner now just trying to keep on the pressure. Will he attack here at Jun Sao? He's as close as he needs to be to get a good run out of the left-hander and up the hill. It's a tiny right exit from both cars, but this is the onboard view. This is the driver view that Scott Bugner sees. You can see Rich Hayden's car getting closer and closer through this Spinner Dos Bosches section, flat out down the pit straight, through turns 14 and 15. Now he starts to close it in top gear. Decides to take a more conventional racing line because Rich Hayden, you can see, is going initially back to the inside to defend. This time, again, nothing close enough. You can just see, if you look in the mirror, that the three cars behind are starting to get a little bigger into Scott Bugner's mirrors. It's BMW that leads, Audi in second place, and then BMW's third to fifth, with Jamie Page's car in sixth. The next Audi, in fact, he's down in eighth behind Jade Warren. But Bugner's the exception here, Becky. He's going for the lead and possibly trying to get himself in the Audi cat amongst the BMW pigeons here and going for the inside, and almost makes it stick. He's pushing.
Yeah, very close now, so hopefully they can get, well, Scott can get a move done nice and cleanly round Rich, but he's not making it easy. Again, making his beamer as wide as possible, putting it in the middle of the track to make it as difficult as possible, not leaving anything to chance and a door open for him. But as he's defending, it's just getting closer and closer, and yeah, he's now being chased by not only just the Audi, but three Beamers very close behind, and then obviously the one just behind that as well. So it could all really kick off in the next couple of corners and laps. So yeah, I wouldn't, don't look away.
That might be the best. Might be the best thing you've said all night, actually, which is don't look away, because effectively that's going to be the key advice to watch, because we've now got there are 6 cars stacking up behind him here. Rich Hayden, do not look in your rear view mirror, because you will possibly get the fright of your life. But he is holding on for his own pace here, so credit where credit's due. He's not going to just roll over and let this through. Looking for the rear view here, you can see the train of cars behind him. It's Bugner from Smith, from Blakey, from Gibson, from Page in that train. They're all covered by literally about, what, 2.5 seconds or so. This is going to be the possible stalemate. It starts to close in. This is the Super 6 at the front. Bugner again gets a decent run through the CRS, and he knows he might be the catalyst. If he possibly just rattles Rich a little bit, tries to make a move and puts him offline, that might not be the case. And look, you can see again already, not comfortable on the racing line is Hayden. He has to go defensive to try and block off any chance of a tow. Back to that racing line before they get under brakes. Here comes Jack Smith though. Bugner now the exception, runs wide as he tried to get on the power in that front-wheel drive Audi, and Smith has now got the prime opportunity he needs. That's the incentive, that's the blood in the water to try and go after the top 2 here. Smith, of course, only got 7th place after some troubles in race 1. Was low as about 10th to 11th at one point, but picked his way through. He did get 2 free spots after there was a collision between Kenny Press and Rich Hayden, which put them right out of contention. So you can see you've got cars all around you. If you look at the mirrors, you can see that there's Chris Blakey's charcoal grey and gold machine. Through Pato. Through the gears again. 3rd, 4th gear down the hill through Magullo. Biding his time, just watching the top 2 in front. Again, Bugner, he's not on totally Rich's tail. It's a good run through there, the slightly tighter exit, which might give him an opportunity. But even though he's getting a tow from this point in time, Becky, he's not getting to the point where he's just sailing onto the back of Rich's car and trying to make a move. It seems that Bugner is just trying to get his best exit he can, but he's not getting close enough to make a dive bomb unless I'm about to eat my words, because he's heading down towards turn 1 and again putting Rich under pressure for a move for the lead.
Yeah, this is probably the closest they've been, so trying to go around the outside, tap to the back and see if Rich can keep his foot in it, but Bugner's going to lose a pair. Oh no, not kept his foot in it, unfortunately. So that was unlucky. That's definitely one that will probably go to the stewards, and I'm pleased I'm not having to sort that out.
I think that makes 2 of us. Scott Bugner and Rich Hayden then make contact at turn 1, and now it really has set the dynamic off of the race, because with 6.5 minutes to go, it now becomes a 4-way BMW fight for the lead. It's now Smith, Blakey, Gibson, and also race 1 winner Jamie Page. They're only separated by about a couple of seconds as they come up the hill towards Ferradura. Blakey, remember, has repassed Jack a couple of times, so he's got the pace to try and beat him. This could be now what could have been for 3rd or 4th position. It's now for the win between these two. Gibson wants the points to try and keep himself in the fight for the championship. Thomas Potter, meanwhile, is back in 7th place. Bugner has recovered after that little mishap, and he has continued on in 6th. Hayden's down to 9th. So again, not really the points they wanted at the end of this race. Turn their way out of Complex, down the hill towards Magullo. This is further back with Scott Bugner. He's now in a sandwich between Thomas Potter, who's now up to 7th, as we said, and Jay Warren, who's holding the last top 5 spot. We know how quick Bugner is, and Potter has a little peek up the inside, trying to squeeze his way through. No chance to get past there. Back up the crest once again, over the hill, through Sabina dos Boches. Again, Potter must be sensing he's got the opportunity here. And look, this is now essentially Bugner going from hunter to hunted, because he's not having to go defensive. Potter goes to the inside line. There's another little rubber panels again. They just knock into each other down on the braking zone towards turn 1. Potter tries to move across. There is a bit more contact. Sideways for Bugner into the braking zone. Summer holds on. There's more tankling between them. Another sideways moment, but the thing is with front-wheel drive cars, Becky, is that if they get sideways, just boot the throttle and the front end comes around eventually. So even though Thomas was trying to make it through, Bugner stood his ground and holds the place.
Yeah, it's all been kicking off a bit these last couple of laps. Yeah, a lot more kind of a bit more pushing about. So good to see them two come through fairly cleanly and no major damage done as these 4 Beamers are pushing on ahead, out in front, see if it stays in these positions. I'm sure it won't. I'm sure we'll have a few shuffles about, as Ollie Gibson looks like he's really on the bumper of Chris now, so he'll be eager to see if he can get an overtake on him, and then maybe even try to give some pressure to his brother Jack, who's currently leading.
He is, and he's going to try and close back in if he can. I'm sure the team would love a 1-2 for DK Power, but ultimately they'll be thinking about themselves for the championship on top of it as well. So out of John South they go, back with Thomas Potter, who's still on the back of Scott Bugner, who's on the recovery trail here, now into 6th position. Up the hill. Still more opportunities to go, still plenty of time for this to change. Through onto the pit straight, top 4 now all together. Jack Smith just getting a small gap here. It's about 3/4 of a second. Close back into braking. Page right on the rear bumper. You can see Oliver Gibson. He's just putting that pressure on as much as he can, but understeers in that second part of Cent S. He was a little bit further back than he wanted to be. Now they come back onto this back straight. The Reto Aposta, so you can switch back to our scrap thoughts, going on for 6th, and again Bugner going defensive because Thomas Aposta can have a second crack. It's again getting past the Audi, holds onto the inside line, defends. Kenny presses closing on as well. Aposta tries to drive it right around the outside, and the Zia de Largo gets shown the edge of the road. He holds onto the place. What if that's Bugner putting a pretty steadfast defence up, Becky, saying sort of knocked into me once before. I'm not going to let you lay down, just lay down and let you go through this easy. You want this place, you have to take it the hard way.
Yeah, he's not being pushed to a side, is he? He's holding his ground, and especially after, unfortunately, that earlier incident, he's probably not wanting to really lose any more places. So he's definitely gonna stand tall and stand firm in his position right till the end.
Inside he looks. It's now a 3-car fight here, and I've said it again. The harder these two are scrapping with each other and holding each other up, it's just press firmly into view with this battle here as they come back towards Yun Sao. Just over 2 minutes to go, so only a couple of laps left to try and decide which way this goes. Of course, out in front, Jack Smith is still 3/4 of a second ahead of Chris Blakey in second place. Gibson in third, Page is fourth, and Jay Warren in fifth position ahead of this battle for sixth. Looking back at Thomas Potter, through onto the pit straight once again. Now to the outside. Potter tried this again a couple of laps ago. He's forced Sprocket to go right to the inside of the circuit, right towards the pit wall. And there's a little tap in the tail, but Potter does make it stick. That was a classy move around the outside. Little thump at the curb as Buckner tries to retaliate, but he can't make that stick, and now has I'm about to say a problem with Kenny Best behind him, but given the race had out of that fight the first couple of corners, Becky, I think Buckner might have the pace to keep Press at bay here.
Yeah, Kenny Press seemed to drop back a little bit. I wonder if he was just waiting to see what was going to unfold between Thomas and Scott and not get tangled and maybe pick up the pieces afterwards. So see if he does give some pressure to Scott in these. I say that actually it looks like Scott's just got past Thomas again as they're still battling. So they're probably just going to keep battling right till the end. As long as there's not too much sort of asserting your authority and dominance, it should turn out okay.
And it's not over yet. You can see it. You're absolutely right. They're still going wheel to wheel as we're going to head on to the final lap of the race. And Press has now come firmly into this mix because they can't stop dicing with each other. And Press has now firmly become an element in what's now a 3-car scrap for the leads. They come out the junks of the left-hander, goes over the curb to try and get a better leverage through. He's got to be careful he doesn't get too much of a track limits if he keeps on going. And Potter's made the mistake. He's run wide over the curb. That's exactly what Bugner was looking for to try and force it. Press tries to thread the gap and get past both of them at the same time. Bugner goes sweeping back around the outside to take the position, and here comes Kenny Press to try and get it through. Now it's a side-by-side draft as Potter gets the momentum. He's now level with Press, is now boxed in. He's got Press to his outside, he's got Kenny to the Bugner to his left. Now they're almost 3 abreast towards centre S. They start the final lap of the race. Potter goes down the outside into the centre S. They touch again, they're side by side, but Bugner stands his ground, and Potter has no choice but to skip over the chicane. They'll have to give him the place back again and try and at least go side by side, which he does. Now he's back in the tow. Press will have the momentum of getting a clean run. Now it's Potter to the inside. One car's going each way, that way, all cars everywhere down towards the left-hander. Delago. Here comes Kenny Press down the outside, but he is boxed in. Potter tries to retaliate up the inside, and they touch, and round goes Potter. They're both off the road, and it's 2 for the price of 1 for Kenny Press. You can always see that coming a little bit, Becky, but it's one of those things where he was in the right place at the right time, and Kenny Press literally got 2 free passes, didn't have to do anything in that scenario.
Yeah, Kenny was just sitting back a little bit, being close enough to make the most out of it, but also not getting tangled in it. Just even when we saw him coming down that pit straight, he's right off to the outer side, letting them keep battling. You could see if you had an on board and you could see head movement, they'd be looking at each other, not even bothered about Kenny. So yeah, Kenny's definitely winning from that one as we head back to the front of the field as we're about to cross the line with Jack Smith.
We are indeed. We're going up to the checkered flag, and despite issues in race number 1, the championship leader doing what championship leaders do, which is get to the front, stay at the front, and take the flag first. It's going to be a victory in race 2 of the evening for the championship leader. Jack Smith picks up the victory in race 2 of round 6, and a sprint to the line for second. Sees Chris Blakey just hold on from Oliver Gibson in the end to make that one stick. So excellent stuff from Jack. Quite start 20th, but he did start from 10th on the grid and picked up an excellent result. Kenny Press comes home in 6th. It was Jamie Page in 4th to round up the top 4. The top 4 were covered by, the top 3 were covered by 0.18 of a second, and Jamie Page came home in 4th place, just a fraction ahead of Jay Warren in 5th place. Kenny Press benefited from the tangle between Thomas Potter and Scott Bugner in the end, and they were going at it hammer and tongs for half the race in that battle for 5th position. And it's Scott Bugner 7th, who does come in the 8th. Captain Potter takes 8th. Jack Dickerson 9th, and Connor Potter runs out the top 10. We sadly lost Rich Hayden, who I was betting on early for victory, but he had to retire after he made contact, had a tangle halfway through, and of course Thomas Bottas doesn't look like he's crossed the line either, which is a shame. So that's race 2 complete at Interlagos, and what a race it was. We'll digest it with the top 3 in a couple of moments' time, so stay tuned after the other side of this advert, and we'll get the thoughts of our podium finishers for this second race at Interlagos, because that was quite a show. Back in 2. Well, where do we start with that race? Well, we can let our top 3 help us digest it from their own perspective. That was quite an eventful second race for VRRC World Touring Cars at Interlagos. Possibly some of the most entertaining and action-packed racing we've had all season, and I think the circuit certainly lent it, and how close the field was as well. But let's let our top 3 describe it in their own words as well, in reverse order as always. Starting with Oliver Gibson. Starting with Oliver Gibson, microphone was playing games there, forgive me. So Oliver, again on the podium, excellent drive, and that was one of those races where almost anything that could happen between the front runners and getting amongst it definitely did. So just talk us through what happened and what was a very crazy race from your point of view.
Yeah, it's just a lot of a lot of cars everywhere, really. I managed to get through with minimal damage, which is a better race 2 than last week, so I'll take that. But yeah, just again, just little mistakes just kept creeping in for me, and just couldn't quite get there. And with Chris as well, he drove really well, so I just hoping he was going to make any sort of mistake, and I just couldn't quite get close enough to make a move. So no, credit to Chris, and yeah, it was a good race. Just more points. I said I wanted second or first, just not third, but here we are. It's still good points, and hopefully we can carry it on for the last few rounds of this series.
So again, as we talked about a couple of times on the broadcast, is that the days when you don't win races is what can win you championships, because you can maximise the amount of points that you can score. Obviously, you're still in this championship hunt. You've still got the likes of yourself and Thomas and others that are in the mix as well, with Bugda in there too. Do you feel as though this was a night where you maximised the amount of points you could get and limited any damage that the likes of Jack and Co did? Because particularly, of course, in race 1, the fact when Jack finished further back, that was helping you gain points. So in that sense, do you think this has been a night where it's been a successful night's work in getting a good solid haul of points towards the championship with 2 rounds left?
Yeah, I'm happy with tonight. Like I say, it's good points, and as long as I can just keep picking those up throughout the series, and then obviously the last few rounds will help. I just wish, obviously, I'd like to get a win, but and I did feel like tonight I did have the pace to, but sometimes it's not meant to be. So, but yeah, like you say, just good points, and just trying to stay in that fight, and anything can happen in that last round. So just happy to be in this fight, to be honest.
So, of course, next round's coming up, of course, which is going to be the Nürburgring. So back to Europe for this one. Of course, it's not the full Nordschleife, but it's the Grand Prix circuit. It's still a challenging circuit in itself. Lots of technical tight turns here. Potentially could favour the Audis a little bit, but how do you think Nürburgring is going to serve you in terms of a circuit that you enjoy, or you think the BMW is going to be strong? What do you think lies ahead in Germany?
Well, unfortunately for me, I won't be there. um,
Oh,
so yeah, so I might try and see if I can get someone to fill in. But from a car point of view, I think it'll be pretty even. Actually, it's obviously there's points in the track where I think the Audi will be suit the front wheel drive. And obviously there's a few traction zones where the BMW might just be able to get that little bit of better launch on those big straights there. So fingers crossed for the BMW, and if I can get someone to replace me, then that'll be great. So if anyone's watching and want to replace me, that's fine. But yeah, so unfortunately I won't be there, but I will be back. I don't know what the round after that is, but the last round, Suzuka. So
Suzuka.
yeah, so I will be back for that.
And I was going to root for you. You disappointed me. No, all
Oh.
jokes aside. No, all jokes aside. Obviously, we'll see you back for the final round. But again, a solid night's work, getting a couple of podiums and at least getting to some really good, solid points. So it's a good night's work as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully puts you in good stead when we get to the last round at Suzuka to see where you end up with the championship. But good evening's racing. Well done on third place, and we'll see you for the finale.
Yep. Cheers.
And bless you to our producer Jack, who sees in the background. On to second. You won't thank me for that. Second place is going to be Chris Blakey as well. Chris, you had a race where initially it looked like you were going to be battling for what began to be fourth and fifth position, and then opened up to be eventually the lead. And you were given as good as you got with Jack, and that was quite a race where the two of you were pretty much stuck together like glue.
Yeah, evening guys. Yeah, that was lucky, I think, is the result of that. But gain from Richards and Scott's little lock together. But I thought I might have a chance at third. I thought, well, if I play my cards right, I'll see if I can cling on to Scott and Jack for third. But as it kind of, when Jack got past me, I was like, right, just try and stick there. And I was like, catch him here, catch him there. And then when Ollie started catching, I was, I thought I'm going to have to defend for my life here. But just the odd little mistake from him, then the odd little mistake from me, the odd little mistake from Jack, just kept us all kind of so close together. And I don't know what the gap was at the end of it, but that was good racing, real good race.
Yeah, plenty of side-by-side action. Of course, it then turned out to be a scrap for the lead in the end as well. By the end of that point in that race, it did look as though Jack had a tiny bit more pace, and you were more fighting a rearguard action from the likes of Oliver and Jamie behind. Was that the case, or was it simply a case that you think Jack maybe just found another gear in the end and just was able to have enough pace to keep you at bay for the last few laps?
Jack's Jack, and yeah, he'll be laughing as I'm saying that. Jack's always got pace in the BMW, so I'm chuffed to be kind of that close to him. I like I say, my sim driving's coming along nicely. So yeah, it's just learned a lot from his lines and his breaking points really. So it's I took it as a learning opportunity as well as a bit of a race. So yeah, enjoyed it.
The next time out in Nürburgring, first I'm going to presume you're going to be at Nürburgring, yes?
I am going to be at Nürburgring. Yes, I'm not going to be at Suzuka. So, but yes,
Right,
I am
okay,
going to be. I am going to be at Nürburgring. Yeah, that one should be an interesting one. It's kind of the Audis get such good launch out of tight corners, and the Nürburgring's kind of 50-50 with fast sweepers and tight corners. So it could be a good race between the two of them. So, like I said, Scott definitely had pace today, and Kenny qualified well. So we know the Audis are a very good match to the BMWs here. So it's good racing. It's just what do you prefer? So.
Well, of course, it'll be your last time we'll see you this season, so fingers crossed it's a good one for you when we get there next week. But until then, kudos on getting a podium, really strong stuff, and we'll see if you can match that in Nürburgring for your final outing of the season. But until then, well done, good fight taken, and we'll see if you can do it again next time.
Brilliant, thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Good stuff. Right, and our last chat of the day is from the man who is top of the championship and on top step of the podium for race number 2, Jack Smith. That's more like it, Jack. Of course, I guess less said about race 1, the better, I suppose. We'll focus on that. And that was really a case of where you just picked your way through from where you were. Was it 10th on the grid? And then in many cases, you got to a point where even there were the fights with Blakey, the tangle at the front just opened things up for you. And then before you knew it, you had the race under control in the front.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I figured out the launches now, and I got a really good launch in both races. And yeah, no, race 2, I just I played my cards right, picked my way through, and yeah, just kept out of any incidents that happened in front of me. And yeah, it was a little bit sketchy running. I think the race 1 knocked my confidence a little bit with the exit of the final corner. I didn't get anywhere near that grass on the exit of the final corner of that second race. So yeah, a few little bits here and there, but I think we did a good job in that second race, and to get a win after the disaster that was race 1, I think is a mega achievement. So yeah, really happy.
I think it's testament to the fact that even though you did go as far as back, I think 11th at one point in that race, and got back up to 7th. And again, it's like I've said to Oliver as well, and I said it all through the broadcast. The days in which you can't win will win you the championship, and the fact you managed to minimise the damage at least as much as you could in race 1 allowed you to get yourself in a better position, so you could then pick your way through for race 2. And there was an element of fortune, I think you can admit as well on top of that. But still, a win's a win. It keeps you in a really strong position in the championship, and it kind of negates the advantage that likes of Gibson and Co had on you from that first race. Now going to Nürburgring for the next round, how do you see the dynamic playing out in the championship? There's 2 events left, 4 races left. How much more tense is this going to be going forward to the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be pretty tense, isn't it? The 2 drop rounds plays a role. My drop rounds are quite high up at the minute, so yeah, they're decent point haul. I think I've got a 36 and a 37 drop round, which is really good. It's higher than everyone else's at the minute, which is good. So I've got that to fall back on if anything. So yeah, I really like Nürburgring. So I mean, hopefully something can come to that. But yeah, no, we'll have to see how it plays out. I think Chris said it's just like a mix of different corners in it. So yeah, I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. But yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, I like the track. It's a cool track. So yeah, we'll have to find out how that plays out.
Sure, we will. Well, it didn't start the way you wanted to, but it certainly ended the way you wanted to tonight as well with the victory. So congratulations, another solid win takes you one step closer to the championship. And at this rate, you're going to be back-to-back champion, World GTs, Endurance, and then, of course, now against Touring Cars. So fingers crossed, best of luck for the Nürburgring next week when we'll see you. But enjoy the victory, and we'll see if you can replicate it again and take another step closer to a Touring Car title next time. Well done.
Yeah, cheers, Scott. And thank you to everyone who's watching, and to all the sponsors and everyone who's watching away, and my girlfriend for keeping me giving me some inspiration to keep going after the race 1. She was just like, "Don't worry about it, just keep going." So yeah, no, thanks to her and my parents as well. They're watching. So yeah, cheers to everyone, and cheers to you guys for doing the broadcast. Really like watching it back.
Good girlfriend supporting you for the sim racing as well. Kudos to
Yeah,
that. Excellent.
yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, well done, Jack. Excellent stuff. We'll see you next time. Congrats.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
And we've awarded driver of the round for this one to Jamie Page as well. Shout out to him again. Not present due to it not having a microphone, but again, a solid run to take a victory in race number 1, and at least getting himself into our top 5 in race 2 as well. So excellent work all round for him, and he gets the driver of the round award on this occasion. And with that, we close the book on Chapter 6 of the 2025 VRRC World Touring Car Challenge. Chapter 7 is only 7 days away, and is, fittingly, next weekend we go to the mighty Nürburgring. Not quite the Nordschleife, but it is still the very tight and technical and sweeping Grand Prix circuit as well, where we could see potentially, according to 1 or 2 drivers, it's very even driving between the 2 cars and even performance levels. But even with Interlagos, that causes a bit of unpredictability as well. There's the scene that's being set for next week. Becky, let's just take some final thoughts on the event. I think it's safe to say Interlagos was probably one of the most eventful but entertaining races of the season so far. The circuit certainly lent it, the field was close, and it gave us 2 different winners, both of which certainly gave us a completely different dynamic when it came to who was coming out on top.
Yeah, it was a great race to come back to after missing the broadcast last week. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch and commentate on. Not always quite sure what was going on at points, and a lot of heart palpitations, and that's just from my point of view. So I'm sure the drivers had a good kick out of that one as well. So yeah, no, absolutely great race that again, close racing as well. So hopefully some more of that next week. But yeah, it was great to be back, and again, chaos in the first race as well, not just the reverse grid. So I'm always happy with that.
Yeah, that first corner, that turn 1 with the hairpins, giving me nerves already. But we'll see if we can negotiate it cleanly enough in this as well. And once again, thank you for watching tonight's VRRC broadcast. Again, for myself, Scott Woodwiss, and Becky Aparicio, and Jack Olfen, who's been on production, of course, Rich Hayden for VRRC, and all the sponsors and partners, all the drivers, everyone that's involved that makes this championship what it is. Thanks so much for being involved. Thanks to you for watching. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and be sure to turn on notifications so you can be told when we go live next. Of course, we've got the projects coming up with the new World GT Sprint Series. And of course, Rich also mentioned we've got 2 new real-world associations with Scottish Legends and Student Motorsport, which are going to coming over the next few months. Watch out for more info on those on the VRRC website and socials. But until then, from all of us, thanks for watching, and join us next week when we go from Brazil to Germany and the mighty Nürburgring for round 7 of the 2025 VRRC World Touring Car Championship. But until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Martin gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.